For dopamine, it's mostly for motivation of tasks.
Okay.
So when your boss says good job or you get a raise, you feel good, right?
Affirmations,
right?
Yeah.
You're attractive, that kind of stuff. That dopamine is released,
Okay.
right? Serotonin is more to do with bodily function.
Okay.
So it will regulate your eating and also your pleasure-seeking behaviors. So when it comes to sex and drugs and that kind of those kinds of behaviors as well.
Okay.
So when you have that trinity not properly produced and not properly functioning, then leads to a host of all of the other psychological issues that might arise.
I think that's a fair introduction of Samantha Mugeni.
And Darren Collins.
And together we are the
Gluten
Warriors. We worry about gluten.
All the time.
All the time.
Every time. All the damn time. Hi, Darren.
Hey, what's up, Samantha?
How you doing?
I'm worried about gluten.
Me too.
All the time.
Every damn time.
Every day. And it's my least favorite subject to talk about, but here we are again.
Here we are. And we have a guest with us today. Do you want to introduce him?
Yes.
Okay, go for
Hi,
it.
this is Earlvin, otherwise known as Van. He's a clinical psychologist, and he knows quite a few things about gluten that, well, we would like to find out about.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us any bit about yourself before we start peppering you with questions?
Okay. My name's Earlvin. I have many hats, but what's most important about today is that I'm a psychologist with an honors degree background in this. I believe that you two are the experts of this because you go through it, and I'm here to give you all the scientific knowledge you might need.
So our expertise, loosely, is in this area. And we're hoping that you have
I got you up here. I got you with the up here.
here.
Yeah, so that's basically me. Other than that, one interesting fact about me, I'm always looking to learn something. Okay. So recently I spent $100 on an app to teach me how to learn small topics in bite-sized chunks, like a TikTok for learning.
Nice.
So
really? What's it called?
Imprint.
Imprint. Interesting. Yeah. How's it going?
It was going well initially, and then I downloaded it with the trial phase, and I put some money in my account, and then I clicked on the monthly subscription, and they decided to do the whole year thing. So $100 gone down the drain.
Okay,
but it's self-improvement, self-investment. So it's going. TikTok time has gone down this week, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, it's just very raw and recent for you.
Very raw, just because also considering my background, I'm in digital marketing. I spend a lot of times in front of screens. I'm not particularly a big fan of screens. And so lately TikTok has been really bad. I have like maybe 4 or 5 hours stuck on TikTok.
A day or a week?
A day.
Jesus Christ.
So, and then it works with my ADHD as well. So it's like the constant dopamine hit. So I needed to find something to stop doing the TikTok.
All right.
Yeah, it's a very difficult addiction.
Is it?
It's a very difficult addiction.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And the algorithm doesn't help.
No, it doesn't.
And people don't classify it as an addiction. You know, social media doesn't have any checks and balances. So it's not like you have to be 18 to use it, or you can only use it for this much amount of time, or, you know. We're still figuring it out as we're using it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the effects we're going to see will come in the future. I mean, obviously attention has become really, really bad.
Yeah.
As of last year, there was a kid in Australia, 7-year-old boy, who had basically his spine inflected in a certain way because of constantly bending to screens. And so that's the first human adaptation to technology that we've ever recorded.
I like how...
And that's me.
Both Darren and I just...
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of weird facts.
Okay. We need to sit up straight. Yeah. How's your posture, Darren? You good?
Nope.
Okay. I
think
I'm okay.
Posture isn't a thing that's taught very well at all to American children.
To any children.
Well, I don't know. In Kenya, I see a lot of people with great posture.
We are running.
Well, I don't think I think it's just like sit up straight in school. Like it's quite amazing to see so many people who sit straight.
Yeah.
Whereas we're all,
especially because slouching is frowned upon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm 6'5", so it's a really heavy head as well. Anyway, enough about that. But you know, ADHD, etc. I've been hearing that when it comes to gluten, we also can see some of the side effects of gluten somehow that are related to attention deficit, anxiety, restlessness, I guess, whatever. Can you kind of give us a litany of, tell us from a clinical point of view, what can some of the side effects of gluten be?
Okay. So basically, a lot of the side effects from gluten usually are energy level based kind of situations and emotional based kind of situations. When I'm talking about emotions, I'm talking about instances of depression, instances of anxiety. When I'm talking about like behavioral, it could be fidgetiness, it could be easily tired. The other one that now links between the two could be stressed out. You could be easily getting stressed out. So a lot of gluten intolerant individuals, right?
Yes.
And really need to identify it correctly here.
Yeah. You're okay.
Usually struggle with that. They could struggle with basically the biggest thing is paying attention. So a lot of them get this situation of brain fog. It's very, very important to note that there tends to be a comorbidity representation. Comorbidity means it appears one after the other together. So if you have a cold, you'll have a headache, for example. That's comorbid.
Okay.
So in this particular case, a lot of times when they do the gastrointestinal checkups, they do find that you might have depression as well. According to the study that I had looked up yesterday, you could find that it is about maybe 60 to 65% of all people will show up with gluten and some form of depression. And that's just because of the way the lack of gluten really affects basically brain development as well as brain functionality from a day-to-day basis. When they do the gastrointestinal check, they usually recommend that you go see a psychologist because you might find that you have some sort of mood disorder. It's really, really important to note that your brain and your gut are intimately connected. Okay.
Yeah.
That means there's constant signal sending from both ends. Okay. So when you eat a typical meal that has gluten, if you are considered somebody who gluten doesn't affect you, it basically is absorbed properly within the villi system in the intestines, right?
Yeah.
Now, what tends to happen is for people who suffer from a gluten intolerant or have a gluten intolerant condition, better to say that, they have a problem with absorbing certain nutrients. Okay.
Yeah.
So these are your vitamin B, B6, B12. There's a vitamin D and there's another vitamin that I can't remember off the top of my head. But these vitamins essentially create what we call monoamerase. Monoamerases are basically fat solids that are used in the body to create other things. Okay. So it is going to be used to create what would be essentially needed from gluten would be used to create things like dopamine, to create things like serotonin, to create norepinephrine, which are your trinity chemicals in your mind. These need to be consistently balanced. Okay.
Right. Because like serotonin and dopamine are like the happiness hormone somehow.
Yes. Somewhat. The division is a bit simpler. For dopamine, it's mostly for motivation of tasks.
Okay.
So when your boss says good job or you get a raise, you feel good, right? Affirmations, right? You're attractive, that kind of stuff. That dopamine is released, right? Serotonin is more to do with bodily function. Okay. So it will regulate your eating and also your pleasure-seeking behaviors. So when it comes to sex and drugs and that kind of, those kinds of behaviors as well.
Okay.
So when you have that trinity not properly produced and not properly functioning, then leads to a host of all of the other psychological issues that might arise.
Well, so I never thought of it that way, and as far as I can tell, I did a DNA test, and it says you have a high probability of gluten intolerance, and we have sort of a history genetically in our family of having celiac disease. My brother is 16 years older than me, and he discovered it and immediately told me about it. So I have 16 years less damage to the villi than my brother. But at that point, when he finally was at wit's end and trying to figure out what was wrong with him, he was actually having seizures. He'd gotten so bad that he actually had a couple of seizures. and of course, depression and anxiety. But now that I think of it this way, I remember when I was like 17, I would I had a math class that was like right after lunch, and I know I was just like eating like tons of gluten every time I had lunch. And I remember sitting day after day with just like this sort of heavy breathing, just and I remember always looking at how the desks were shaped, and I was like overwhelming thought of like all the metal bars, like and none of it just doesn't, I can't, it's just this, I gotta get out of here. Like my brain just, especially with numbers, because I was actually really into language. So when it came to English, I was the editor of the school newspaper. Like that was creative writing, all that. That was me. I would just be like, "Hey, I have an assignment with the school newspaper. Can I leave?" And they'd be like, "All right, fine." And then I would leave and just go sleep on my couch in my office in the newspaper, because all I wanted to do was sleep. But if I wasn't sleeping, my mind was just. But that was after lunch. Yeah. But that would make sense that it would trigger something in my brain. Is it anxiety? Is that a thing?
It would be, it could be triggering possibly anxiety. It could be, a lot of times it could be brain fog, and you're not able to properly interpret that you're experiencing brain fog. And then the other thing you also have to remember is the fact that a lot of a good metaphor for thinking about this is like when you fuel a car, you need to use refined fuel for the car to run properly. Now, what tends to happen in conditions where people are gluten intolerant is their body is not able to make the right glucose in the right exact way. So the exact chemical way of how it's building up the glucose that would basically be fueling your brain and that kind of thing isn't refined. And so it's just like if I just got petrol from, a sewer or something and put it in the car will run. But it's going up. And then you also need to remember that because gluten intolerance is it's almost like an invisible disorder, to a sense, because most people won't recognize it. You go to school, we eat together. I have a tummy ache or I'm feeling restless, but everybody's fine. So then maybe the problem is
or it's not even like,
or it's not even food. A problem, or it's not even the food. So the localization actually of the problem, or the way you assess the problem, becomes an issue, because you just can't point out what is it that makes you like that. But that tends to happen.
That makes so much sense. It explains so much of my behavior at that time, because that's when I was forced into it. You need to be here. But then after that, as an adult, sort of have more freedom to play around with how I use my time. So it sort of manifested in different ways. But what about you, Sam? Do you think it's getting to your brain?
It's funny because earlier we were talking about, he said something that has to do with how us, those gluten intolerant people, have a slower reaction time to the other normal people. I will call them normal for purposes of this podcast. Yeah. And maybe you can tell us a bit about that, but I think that's what's happening right now, because like the patterns is taking some time. I'm processing.
So when it comes to brain fog, this is actually the number one thing that's reported by everybody who's gluten intolerant. 90% of people always talk about some form of, I struggle to concentrate, I struggle to have clarity, I struggle to digest topics, even though it's repeated to me multiple times. And from just basically looking at that, it's important to understand that, there goes my ADHD again. What were we talking about? What were we talking about?
Reaction time.
Reaction times. Thank you. Sorry. So reaction times. So you guys tend to have a slower reaction time because what tends to happen is all your processing goes on in your prefrontal cortex, the front part of your mind, right? That's where your reasoning and your logic takes place, right? But you must remember that for the brain is a self-regulatory system, right? It controls things like other bodily functions that you don't have access to, right? To operate, right? That's why they say there's that thing of, you have a bit that 12% or 15%. It's a euphemism. But basically your brain prioritizes where that energy is going to go, right? So keeping you breathing, keeping your heart rate steady, keeping you awake, that is more important than absorbing the algebra that's on the blackboard.
Oh my God.
So your brain prioritizes where that energy is going to be spent. And you have no control over that. And then therefore you experience brain fog.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
You know, it's crazy. So I'm thinking about, obviously when I was younger, our diet was a bit more regulated. So we didn't encounter gluten so much. Mm-hmm. But then when I got to uni, and I think that's when I had free reign of what I can eat. And I was going crazy on all of the gluten and everything. But I really used to struggle in class with like things that would have been easy for me to understand. The younger version of me would have easily flowed through a statistics class. But in uni, I was just like, it's not making sense. The math is not mathing. And I'm like, it could be very heavily tied because that's when the largest manifestations of my intolerance started to show up because I was consuming so much gluten on the regular.
Right.
It never occurred to me that it could have affected my brain and like how I think and how I process information and stuff like that. Because I was definitely not drinking as much. It was not the alcohol.
It wasn't alcohol.
I could not afford to drink that much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember bragging about that I could sleep anywhere. But it was because I literally was that tired that I could sleep at any moment, anywhere I was, even in band class where everyone's practicing easily.
And it's loud. It's like,
no problem. We'd go on, and even on trips when people are all having fun, I could just lay out and fall asleep instead of having fun. Just like, this would be good for me,
Wow.
Sleep all the time.
Intense.
Yeah.
And you can imagine because also when the gluten is in your system, it's recognized as a pathogen or a foreigner. So your immune system kicks in, right? So not only are you not functioning well, but having a proper absorption rate of the glucose that's created in your system to create all of the other brain chemicals. But on top of that, your body's fighting an infection. So it's even using more energy.
Yeah.
So you're kind of exhausting your body.
Yes, because it's always
fighting. And then it's not absorbing the food. So you're burning way more energy.
I feel like now that I'm off the gluten and I have an understanding of where my brain fog was coming from, maybe I can go back to school and take statistics.
Really?
Yeah. I think I should give it a try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you feel like your brain's functioning better than before, I certainly know that I have more energy. I certainly know that I have way fewer gastrointestinal issues. And I believe I'm absorbing nutrients now again, because I know I just got sort of wasted at some point. I mean, I was so vastly uncomfortable all the time. And I used to drive several hundred miles a day because I was a road gig guy. I was performing on the road. I could fall asleep while driving all the time.
How are you still alive?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I would dream, even with my eyes open, I would begin to have audible dreams that would start with audio.
Yeah.
So I'd hear someone say my name or something like that while I'm driving. And then if I was like, oh boy, I'm getting tired. And there was nothing I could do to keep awake. Unless I fell asleep for like 4 seconds, then I'd stay awake for like an hour. But this is terrible. I mean, the most dangerous thing of all kind.
Yeah.
Even at football, I couldn't play. We call it soccer, but I was the slowest kid. Like I just ran out of energy before everyone else. Basketball, I was the tallest guy in the team. I was the first one to be cut because I just sucked. But I didn't have any energy. I had no get up and go.
Yeah.
It's like how the coach was thrilled when I walked in the door, in 9th grade or whatever. Like, hey, we got the tall kid, and then he was like, oh. He's the worst. So
what a waste.
My life would be a lot different if I would have known about this.
Yeah.
Up next, restaurant review with Sam and Darren.
Okay.
What do you got?
I've got Ocha Noodle Bar.
Ocha Noodle Bar.
Yeah. Have you been to Ocha?
I have not. I've never heard of it.
Really?
Where is it located?
Westgate.
Oh.
Wait, are they still at Westgate?
I wouldn't know.
I don't know either. Yeah, but when I ate there, they were at Westgate. What I liked about them, so with being gluten-free, can't really eat noodles per
For the
se.
most part, unless you find pure rice noodles.
Exactly.
And generally the rice noodles.
Yeah. So they have really good rice noodles.
Really?
Yeah. And they don't always put soy sauce in the rice noodles.
Is it like a dry thing or is it like a pho soup?
The one I had was dry, like with the stir fry.
I don't know much about noodles.
Pork stir fry rice noodles.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, so good.
Well, that sounds wonderful.
So good. So good.
Do you know what?
Highly recommend.
I'm assuming it's Asian.
Yes.
Do you know what region of?
So the setup is like, it's not like a restaurant, or at least when I went there, it wasn't like they didn't have their own space. It's kind of like a food court situation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then, so you just go and you place your order.
Does it actually say gluten-free?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
I don't even think that's a thing they think about.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
so what you're saying is that it's not a place that has a gluten-free option, but it's a place that has
rice noodles.
Yes. And you can get it without soy sauce.
Yes. Very good.
And so there's no vibe.
So tasty.
You sort of just pay and go. It's a food
pay and
court
go.
situation.
Yeah, it's a food court situation.
Do they offer pho noodles?
It's probably in the menu.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know. I didn't check. I don't like pho as much.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm crazy for it.
Really?
Yep.
Well, I feel like it's great for hangovers, for sure, because it comes with soup, right?
Yeah.
Kenyans know tripe as matumbo, which is, quite apt because it is stomach lining.
Right.
and tumbo is the stomach in Kiswahili. So it's just like matumbo. It's very original. I like it.
It's delicious. I like all meats.
All the meats.
I've been eating liver a lot lately.
Yeah, liver is good.
I had some tongue recently.
Tongue?
Somewhere in Kenya.
Of a cow?
Where was I? Well, I'm assuming. It could have been chicken tongues, but it would be a lot of chickens.
Chickens don't have tongues, do they?
You've never cleaned a slaughtered chicken?
I've never even slaughtered a chicken.
Oh, well, you need to live a little bit.
I am trying.
You don't even cook at home. You don't do much domestic things, do you?
I don't enjoy them. I don't enjoy them.
Yeah. I cleaned this morning. I did laundry this morning.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I cooked this.
I cleaned toilets.
I prepared something this morning.
Did you?
Yeah. There were fries in the fridge and there were eggs. So I just did a thing.
Did you boil the eggs?
No, I cut onions and I put the onions in the egg and I mix them together and then I put them on the and then I put the fries on the frying pan and then I put the eggs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then I mixed them, gathered them until they looked like they could be edible and they would not kill me. And then I served them on a plate and I ate them.
What did you use? Any oil?
Yes.
What oil did you use?
Cooking oil.
All right. Well, that's. I'm glad it wasn't motor oil or hair oil or oil of Olay.
Yes, there's people who use transformer oil to make fries, man. Like I used cooking oil.
Name two people. You're just making this up.
It's one of those where I'm just like,
Imaginary people who use transformer oil. No, what kind of oil did you use?
Sunflower oil.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it Rinsen?
Yeah.
Rinsen sunflower oil.
The worst possible oil.
Yeah.
Served in Kenya.
Yeah.
Yeah. Way to go.
See, and then I washed my plates after I was done cooking.
Okay. We don't have to prove that you're. So Ocha noodles is a win.
You go.
I'll try it.
All right.
The Gluten Warriors podcast is produced by Arro Digital. The show is executive produced by Eva and Sam Mugeni. Our editing is done by Voicebox Studios. Join us next Wednesday for another episode of The Gluten Warriors. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, AfriPods, and wherever you get your podcasts from.